Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another session of the 7th Symposium PUCPR on Internationalization, also known as SPIN. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's a real pleasure to be here as the host of this next session that I think I'm sure will be extremely interesting to all of you who's working with international education, but also anyone who's interested in education in general. We have a very exciting theme to debate today. The title of the session is Virtual Mobility and Online International Education Pioneering Initiatives. And what we'll discuss here in this session is what very creative, very innovative universities around the world are doing to deal with this bizarre situation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic with respect the student international mobility programs. One would expect that the pandemic would paralyze everybody across the world, but that didn't happen at all. And it's the opposite, actually. People are getting very creative and finding exciting and interesting ways to deal with it. And I have the honor and the pleasure to have 4 very special guests joining us today from different parts of the world, different continents. And the idea is that they will share their initiatives in this regard. So let me start by introducing you to Rosario Díaz Domínguez. Rosario is the Director of International Relations at the Universidad de los Andes in Chile. Rosario, welcome, and thanks for joining us. We'll also have Marisol Achach Solís. She is the Director for Internationalization at the Universidad ANÁHUAC-Mayab in Mexico. Marisol, welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you. We'll also be joined by Carla Cassol da Silva, my dear friend Carla. She's the Director of the International Office at PUC Rio Grande do Sul here in Brazil. One of our dear sister universities. Carla, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Marcelo.
And finally, I'd like to introduce you all to Claudia Sampel. Claudia is the Director of International Relations at the Burgundy School of Business in France. Claudia, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. So, we were just meeting a few minutes ago and preparing for this session, and I was telling my colleagues here that coincidentally or not, at the same time that we're having this session here, there's also something else going on at PUCPR. We're having a symposium to university administrators that we have every year, and I was watching this very exciting talk by Ben Nelson. And for those who don't know Ben Nelson, he is the creator of the Minerva University, this very extremely innovative university based in San Francisco, very well funded. And Nelson recreated the whole idea of a university by inventing something completely new. You're probably familiar with the Minerva University model. They don't have a campus. They don't have classrooms. Everything happens online, and the students, what Nelson says is that the campus is the city. So the students are welcome to get integrated into different cities in the world. They have 7 different cities connected to the university all across the world, from Buenos Aires to all the way to Hyderabad in India. The students have to circulate across all these cities. They spend some time in each one of these cities, and they take classes and take courses at their own pace, just using the computer and a connection with the internet. So it's very innovative. And I have to say, as an old guy that I am, I keep trying to find problems with that model, and I just can't. It's really exciting. It's something completely new. Makes me think that, there might be not a space for the traditional way of doing things at universities in this world that is coming in the near future, not even distant future, near future. And I was watching this guy talking, and I was thinking about our session. So I would like to start by teasing you, by provoking you with that idea of the Minerva University. And the reason I'm doing this is because you guys are innovative, as innovative as probably Ben Nelson. And the reason why I'm saying that is you have been quickly adapting to the situation that we're living now by creating programs that, again, to me is mind-blowing, but that will allow students to keep going with their plans of doing an exchange period abroad, of interacting with professors and colleagues from different universities across the world, but not necessarily by traveling and by being there in person. So maybe we can start with that idea on the table. Also, I would like to ask each one of you to, maybe you can give like a brief introduction of your institutions, and like a very short summary in a nutshell of these innovative programs that you are creating. So let's start with Rosario. Rosario, I know that Universidad de Los Andes have created something called Move Virtual. Is that right?
Exactly.
That is really exciting and fantastic. So if you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your university and this new program.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcelo, for this invitation, and thank you to my colleagues here. Well, yes, my name is Rosario Díaz. I am from University of the Andes in Chile, in Santiago, in the capital city. Our university is a medium-sized university. We have 10,000 students, mainly undergraduate. And of course, we did this program called Movirtual, so Movilidad Virtual, virtual mobility. And at the same time, we are developing a COIL, a collaborative online international learning program. So we have both. We did this division somehow because we wanted our students to have both options, to have Movirtual, so to have the option of doing, for a student to do one course abroad online with another university, and to have a student in one of our courses, and also to have our faculty, our professors, matching with another professor abroad and doing specific projects with another course or another group. So our students can have both experiences. And we think it's great if you think in the future, maybe we could think that all of our students during their studies could do at least one course online in an international university. When we think that in Latin America, at least 1% of students go abroad, for international mobility. In the world, it's 2%. In Latin America, it's 1%. So when you think, what about this 99%? If you think, okay, what if they at least could do one course abroad, and if in many courses they could have these groups, with students from Mexico, at least to have one task, one case, or guest speakers in their online classes. In the future, of course, we expect to have face-to-face classes, but we are sure we'll have a blended model, and that many classes, maybe language classes or case classes based on case studies, will be online. So we think, why not, have them with this both ideas of collaborative online learning, and also, if you take 5 classes, maybe 4 are presential on campus in your university, and 1 is with an international university. Why not? So in our case in Chile, we were very fast, as you said before, Marcelo. We in 4 months we thought, okay, we were watching what was happening in Europe. We were watching what was happening in Spain, and we thought, okay, this is coming. So we have to be very fast. And we also had the experience that last year we had the social unrest in Chile. So we had already some experience, 3 or 4 months of delivering online classes in 2019. So we had already a couple of months that we also had to act very quickly, very fast to finalize our last year. So with that experience, we thought, okay, we had to take this seriously. And at the beginning of the year, already in March, we thought, okay, we had this Canvas model, this Canvas system for online teaching, and we thought we need to train all our professors now, because this is coming and we need to train them now because this is going to happen. So I'm very glad that my institution took it seriously, and then we because some universities were waiting, expecting, okay, what will happen? My institution was very fast, and I think that was the key, not only for mobility, but also to to develop all the process, the teaching and learning process for this year. So at this point in this project, this semester, we have 125 students in our Movirtual project taking courses abroad. It's on progress now, so I cannot tell now that it's going on. Students are having a great time. We are evaluating, and it's happening now. So we still don't have the results, but we are very happy that it's going on, and we expect, of course, to continue it. Even if we go back to campus, we want to continue it. So we're developing this project as an ongoing and as a long-term project as well.
Sure. No, this is really fantastic, and I understand that you're talking about a virtual mobility program that is both outgoing and incoming, right?
Exactly.
So you're talking about the students at your university and the opportunity they have to study abroad at a partner university, but you're also accepting international students to your university online, which is amazing to me, and we're gonna get back to that point later. Okay, so yeah, Carla, tell us about the e-movies initiative.
Well, actually, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here and discuss this, this theme that I'm really passionate about. And welcome to all participants as well. I'm not only talking about e-movies, because e-movies is one of the initiatives that we have, but actually the same that happened with other universities, we could see that this pandemic period and all this issue was coming to Brazil and to our environment. So we had to move on really fast. And then we created a virtual exchange program. That's the name that we call this program. And it consists of promoting collaborative online opportunities with international partners to contribute to PUC Rio Grande do Sul, or PUCRS, as we call here, internationalization process. And so in this program, we have virtual mobility, in which we participate on the e-movies and other platforms as well, from Oducal, for example. But we also have contact with our partners, and we have this online exchange enrollments, and so they can participate in our programs, online programs as well. We also have COIL, which is the Collaborative Online International Learning, that is in this program, virtual international experiences as well, and international webinars. So we have all this planned and now executing a program that is called Virtual Exchange Program. I'm Carla Cassol. Sorry, pardon me, I didn't present myself. I'm the head of the international office at PUCRS. I'm talking from Porto Alegre, Brazil, state of Rio Grande do Sul. That's it. And so that was the opportunity as it came, and we know that online programs, they are usually delivered. We have this experience, but usually for our specialization programs like MBAs. And then we decided to move on as fast as possible. Of course, that we had to do that quite in a really fast way. And it was a challenge for our team, but now we do have lots of students. And the most important for us is that we cannot stop our internationalization process due to this situation, because as Rosario mentioned before, mobility, when we talk about traveling abroad and all that, it's only a small percentage of our students that can do that due to our students' profile, because some of our students, they don't have financial conditions or even time because they are workers who study. It's quite different from other countries, you know. And if the main reason, our main goal is to develop international perspectives and intercultural competences in our students, I do believe that these not mobile, but virtual programs, they can provide our students a massive participation. So I can see a good point on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's very interesting that you guys are doing this in connection with other large institutions and organizations across the world. And this is really amazing and exciting. I guess it expands the possibilities quite a lot, right? So we'll also get back to that, but I would like to change continents now. Maybe we can go to Europe. So Claudia, we were talking before we joined in, and you were telling me about the students that you were expecting to receive in person in France, and then, but you also have, if I understood you well, an equivalent number of your students that are virtually joining, you know, the Burgundy School of Business this year. Is that so? And how do you see these two different groups? Is that something new to you guys? What are the plans?
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you also for my colleagues for letting me join the discussions. I'm really happy to be with you. So hello from France. Bonjour or bonsoir, because it's almost 9:30 over here. So I'm really happy to be here and share information. I have to say, I was a bit scared to come to the discussion because you're talking about pioneers when it comes to virtual mobility and online learning and all that. And I feel really humbled that I was invited with the situation of our school. We are not actually out there as, with online MBA programs like other schools can be really already on top of how to teach online, have 100% online education and distance learning. And, so I have to disappoint you if you thought that that's what I'm going to bring to the table. What I'm going to bring to the table is coming from, I would say, more medium-sized. BSB is a medium-sized business school. In France, we have the phenomenon of having standalone business schools. So we're not within a university. We are a standalone business school, function on our own. So we're a private school. We have just under 3,000 students on undergraduate, graduate programs, and we also have an MBA program. We're in Dijon. This is where our main campus is, but we also have a campus in Lyon, and we also have a program that we teach in Paris. So let's say we're sort of a middle-class business school in the landscape of the business schools in France. And when it comes to the crisis that hit us all this year, with the measures that had to be taken and that were imposed also by our government to lock down and to close the campus and to switch online, I have to say that I was very impressed. And this is not just because I'm working at the school, but also sort of as an outside person, because I've only been with BSB for a year. And I knew the school to be a school that has it in its DNA to have, classes on campus, small groups, close contact with the students, the teachers being really close to the students. We cap our most of our classes. They are like 30, maximum 40 students in a class, and then they switch into smaller groups. There's a lot of practical work that they have to do, group work, and so a lot of happens also on campus. So when we had to close the campus and switch to 100% online, I was worried. I was really worried about how this is going to be taken in by our students, how our faculty is going to manage. And I was blown away that within 72 hours, so we had like 3 days where we switched all of our classes, like something like 6,000 hours of teaching, from being in presential to online. We used Teams, so that was one of the tools that we already started working with Microsoft Teams that was already introduced, so the students and some of the faculty members were already familiar, but for some even that was new. And so I was just amazed how quickly our faculty was able to adapt, also how well the students took it, because that was the other worry, of course, that the students would sort of disconnect, since we sort of groomed them to be used to having, you know, the faculty available, also our staff, administrative staff and all that, very present in their life on campus. And now all of a sudden campus is closed and nobody's there and everything is online. So I was very impressed how agile we were, you know, how flexible we were to adapt to this really quickly. So I was very proud also of my team, because of course in international relations it was mayhem. And I think that is what we also share in international relations. It was such a shock to sort of go from, you know, having to deal with the students and having to find out what the different situations are in our partner universities. Can our students stay? Do they have to come back? Will they have online classes? Reassure the parents, reassure the students, and all that in France and abroad. So it was, you know, a lot of, like we all did, crisis management. And so I thought that we did really well. And also the feedback that we got from the students was that it was well handled, that they were all able to finish their semester. They all had their online exams, and the international students were also really happy that they were able to go back and continue their studies and not have to interrupt and lose a semester of studies. So it was a huge lesson. And of course, now that this crisis is not over, because it didn't just take 4 months, it's still ongoing. And we really seem to be moving towards a shift. Like you said, also with this started before COVID-19, of course, with online programs like the Open University or Minerva, that have online programs for free or for low prices, and to see how you position yourself. So it sort of pushed us to move faster on this topic than we intended to. So we were already preparing a lot of things that sort of we're more going in the direction of how can you use digitalization and online tools and different ways, I would say, of teaching to support our pedagogical model, which is being close to our students and having a close contact with our students. And in that way, Teams was for us a very good solution, because it allows you to recreate sort of the module of a classroom, where you have classroom sessions, you have the whole group interacting together, you have a forum where they can all interact. And there are also individual discussions. You can break them down into smaller groups where they can have discussions in the smaller groups. So it sort of was a good mirror program for us, for what we intend as our pedagogical model in our teaching. And then, you know, leading up to that, we were already engaged in the models of active learning, for example, of data analytics, which allow us to have a very close sort of monitoring system for our students' learning outcomes, to be able to react to each individual student and how they progress on their learning curve on the different classes. So we were sort of, I would say, ready in a way that I didn't suspect that we were actually ready. You know, I was sort of thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. And I know that my dean will not be happy when he hears me say this, but I know that he can forgive me, because we have a really great outcome, and we were so happy that we were able to succeed. And to come back now to your question of how we're tackling the new semester, I'm going to share what I said here in our little preparation leading up to the session. I'm going to call this semester the rock and roll semester, okay? Where I think we're going to rock and roll, and there's going to be a lot of things that we have to adapt to again, and where, you know, it's not going to be a smooth ride and where everything is, you know, perfect. Especially for the international students, I know that they have to be very patient with us when it comes to giving them information, because we also depend on information coming from the authorities, from the government, of how we have to adapt on how we can have our classes on campus. So the plan for us is to go back to on-campus teaching, but also what we call it to be in a dual system, where we also guarantee our students that they can follow all the classes online, so they don't need to be on campus. They can also follow classes online. However, I always sort of give a little warning to the students that if they can, they should come join us, because the experience is very different, of course, and you know those things in international relations. We like to travel, we like to go places, we like to meet people, we like to look them in the eyes. Even, you know, I see you guys and I can look you in the eyes on camera, but it's not the same experience when you can go actually to the place and experience the country. I know it's difficult times, and I know that we're shifting towards something else, and that we have to sort of reinvent international relations and international education with what's happening in the world. But I'm a strong believer in the intercultural learning model by learning by doing, that you actually have to go and live the experience, and the online can never replace that 100%.
Yeah, I guess that's a major point. I was listening to you, and I was thinking that probably most of the universities in the world were forced to do this movement into the online teaching, right? And some were more prepared than others, but it happened. It was very traumatic, but it happened. But the real question, so it's doable, it's possible, and the students kind of like it. They adapt to it. But the real question to me is, you know, we deal with putting students from different parts of the world together in the same room and let them, you know, discover it, right? The whole experience of being there. And that to me is like the core question. So I would like to turn to Marisol. Marisol, you're in Mexico. You're next to the U.S., right? And you are geographically so challenging. Your position is so challenging that it makes me wonder. So how are you guys dealing that with, first of all, the pandemic, and what are the programs that you are thinking that you're implementing there to deal with the fact that, you know, traveling is not as natural as it used to be? And how do you see that happening in this position that you guys are now?
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I'm Marisol Achach, Director for Internationalization at ANÁHUAC-Mayab University in Mérida, Yucatán, in the southeast of Mexico. Thank you, Marcelo, for giving me this opportunity to share what ANÁHUAC-Mayab has been doing in the field of online education and virtual mobility. At ANÁHUAC-Mayab University, we've been offering online courses as part of all of our undergraduate programs since 2012. And we made technology and digital transformation part of the university strategy to benefit students, alumni, the community, and to enhance our partnerships worldwide. Online courses also support international exchanges, giving students the opportunity to keep up with their program if they cannot find the broad specific course that they need to take. More recently, we have developed online certificates on different fields of study as part of our continuing education programs. Last year, we partnered with EDX and started offering MOOCs to take accessible online quality education to more people. Currently, we have more than 100,000 learners from all over the world. So this has demonstrated to be a very successful model of online international education. Also last year, we established a partnership with Coventry University in the United Kingdom to offer a transnational education degree for our business programs. This collaboration includes a set of online international courses that must be accredited by students to be awarded their double degree. So this is another form of online international education as well. In response to the pandemic, ANÁHUAC-Mayab University, as we all had to do, we had to adapt to the circumstances, leading to a profound transformation, not only in the way classes were taught, but also in the way students' engagement was fostered and learning was promoted. This was possible thanks to the digital strategy we had been working on that prepared us for a reality that we expected many years from now. So we were able to move all our courses to a virtual modality, synchronous and asynchronous. So in terms of international mobility, this allowed us to host virtual exchange students in the summer. And now, prioritizing the health and safety of the university community this semester, we have started the classes fully online, but we are prepared to move to a hybrid model similar to dual model Claudia was sharing with us about. And as soon as it is safe to go back to on-site classes, we will do that. So we have equipped our classrooms with lecture tracking cameras, microphones, high-fidelity sound systems, and noise cancellation technology to enhance the teaching and learning experience, allowing interactive classes. The platform we use is for online classes is Brightspace. Brightspace integrates the tools students need to continue learning and collaborating with each other. So you can use Zoom, Blackboard Collaborate, Microsoft Teams, or different tools according to the characteristics of the activities or of the courses. For instance, our engineering students are taking classes in online simulation labs through this Brightspace platform. This semester, we had the wonderful opportunity to welcome incoming virtual exchange students from 8 different countries. So our body program has also become virtual. Each exchange student is paired with one virtual ANÁHUAC-Mayab body who will not only assist the exchange student with practical issues in the academic life, but also will introduce the student to the Mexican and Yucatan culture through different activities, fostering the development of intercultural and communication skills. ANÁHUAC-Mayab students have also started their international virtual mobility with the advantage of mixing courses from both universities. And we certainly will continue promoting this kind of opportunities even when the pandemic is over. So knowing that we are now living in a new reality where virtual mobility and online education are playing a leading role in internationalization of universities, the International Department at ANÁHUAC-Mayab is working with partners around the world on the development of different kinds of faculty collaborations, including collaborative online international learning courses, virtual exchange of guest speakers, and the increase of online courses offering to allow more students to enroll and experience the virtual mobility. I think that now that we've all been successful in facing this challenge of moving to virtual, the next challenge in online education is to make sure that universities provide students with meaningful experiences, academic, professional, intellectual, personal, social, and intercultural. So they can develop the set of skills, hard and soft, power skills needed not only for the future of the workplace, but for the development of the positive action leadership that is required in the world. So this means that universities need to create an innovative digital education model and work on a continuing faculty training program to lead to an academic transformation. So this is pretty much what we've been doing in terms of online international education and virtual mobility.
That is fantastic, Marisol. You just touched, some of the issues that I think are critical to our discussion. It's too bad that we have such a short time, because we can do. I think I could do it, and I'm sure you could do this 4 hours, right? But one thing that really comes to my mind, and I apologize because I'm taking notes here and I'm following the questions, and there are lots of questions coming in. But one thing that I think it's major is, if we decide to be brutally honest here, do you guys think that the virtual mobility programs are a, let's put it, second option to the actual in-person mobility programs with all the traveling and the visiting and the interaction, or that can become really something prime, something that is really special and not a second option? And just adding a little bit to that, I fully understand what you guys are doing in migrating to platforms online in order to keep the quality of the training and the teaching intact, and you're doing a great job. But then, as Marisol mentioned, can we do that too with the cultural side of the experience, the living experience? Because we know that our students, when they go abroad and they spend some time abroad, when they come back, probably 6 months after they returned, they forgot quite a bit of the content that they were taught there at the visiting university, but they will never forget the experience of being there, right? So are you dealing with those issues? Do you, so first of all, think that this is like a second option to the prime option of being there actually? What are you doing to deal with the cultural aspects of it? And so let's start with, so I'll just throw it to the table. Whoever raises your hand first starts. Okay, Rosario.
I don't think it's a second option. Not at all. At all. I think it's I think it's another option. It's just different, because the thing is that if you think how many students, at least in the Latin American reality, sometimes they think at the end of their studies going abroad. But what if a student, if in their first year, they have an international experience online and they realize and they open, this idea, this window, maybe I could do something, maybe I could go abroad. I think it's a first step, I think it's not, I think it's something additional that you could have,
I'm sorry, but you just mentioned that is another question that I've written here. Do you think this could be a first step towards something else? Because you just used this term, it's a step towards it. Do you really think that? Yeah, no.
That was for Marisol or for me?
Because you just mentioned, right?
I think it's a first step. I think it can be a first step. Because for many students in Latin America don't even think about going abroad. It's impossible. It's a dream, So I think this is a first step. I also think that you can create really cultural and very quality experience even online. We had the experience 1 month ago. We had an international summit on adaptive leadership. We had 80 students from Chile and Latin America. And after 1 week, at the last day, they were all crying and they never met. And they were crying because they were getting apart and they never met, Normally, when you have an intensive program with students being together for a month, it's very intense. And at the last day, they're crying and they have this friendship and they have this experience. But we also achieve that in 1 week. Because if you can organize an online experience that is not only lectures and talking and PowerPoints, but if you give them, challenges, if you give them ideas to discuss, if you give them significant experiences, you can really achieve something. It's not, either this idea or the other one. I think that those are just additional experiences and opening experiences.
Great. Any other thoughts? Yes, Carla.
Thank you. I'm just crazy to talk here. And that's exactly, I do agree with that. And I do agree with Claudia when she says that virtual mobility cannot replace mobility. But we are not talking about replacement. We are talking about complement, because that's our reality here. Most of our students, they don't have conditions. That's the dream that we've talked about. And now they are able to have this international experience. Of course, maybe it's not the dream, but yes, they can have it and they can interact. They can study in an international university. They can interact with international students. So yes, they can develop this intercultural competency. And even I would like to tell you to think about a concept of accessible internationalization, in a sense that we are, democratizing internationalization, because it was, only for a few students. And now we can have most of them having these experiences, even though online. And I'm not saying that's not good. I could say that's the possibility that they have. And they can, yes, develop the international mindset, they can develop international perspectives, and they can have intercultural competences developed as well, because they are going to have this interaction. And our faculty might be prepared. That's a challenge, of course, but if they are prepared to that and they have it in their minds, they can challenge our students to develop these intercultural competences through activities and talks and all that. I do know that for us, maybe this virtual connection is quite different from what we are used to, but I have 2 kids, and my kids, they talk to their friends. I would say they use mostly internet connection and virtual connections than in-person connection. So I think it works, and it came to stay, you know. That's how we are going to work. We are going to have not a second option, but we can have both. They complement each other.
Thank you, Carla. We have a, I will pass it on to Claudia, but I just want to say that we're having a lot of comments here. So, and here, the international agent for the Polytechnic School at PUCPR, he's saying that you guys are building the plane while flying. And it is a big challenge. And this is what we're all doing during this pandemic. Yes, Claudia, you want to compliment? You want to add on that?
Yeah, I just want to explain maybe what I said earlier on. I mean, I'm sort of I guess on the dinosaur side of things for students who are now starting university, you know, where I'm coming from a world where when I was a student, we were just sort of discovering internet and email and all that, and all these things are now, my kids are 6 and 9, and they're already swiping through everything on the phone and on the iPad and whatever. So it's a push to something different. It's I guess it's very disruptive, but on a more personal level, I have a hard time sort of catching on to it. But when I take a step back, I think it's just evidently it's going to change. You know, we don't have a choice. There are so many things that are moving online. There are so many things that are changing, that we're talking about apps, that we're talking about digitalization, artificial intelligence, you know, where is all this taking us? So of course we have to adapt to it, and of course we have to integrate it into our learning experience for the students, into how we teach and how we deliver our content. So I'm not arguing at that at all. What I'm just wondering is how we're gonna, I'm not sure yet how we're gonna package all the learning experience that was done in a learning by doing, when you're traveling and when you're going there and when you're living the culture, when you're tasting the food, when you go out and have a caipirinha, okay? How do you do that virtually? We for example, we have an institution at our school that is very important, is the School of Wine and Spirits Business, okay? Where we teach our students on how to work in wine and spirits management, businesses, and one of the classes they have is wine tasting, for example. And we made the choice that wine tasting, for at least for the time being and a very sort of short to midterm sort of perspective, cannot move online, because we're going to have a challenge having all the students that are in 5 different continents on the world having exactly the same wine to taste. Okay, so just from a logistics point of view, there are some things that I don't know how to do those online. I understand that there is a lot to discover, and I guess that what we will find out in the end is that we're going to have, it's going to be an enrichment of the experience, and we're going to learn from our students that through the virtual mobility and through the coils, for example, they're going to have a whole range of competences that we maybe didn't touch on when they were actually going there, because we're challenging them intellectually speaking on different things. And I think that's what we need to dig in and see, okay, it's not to replace, it's to have, for me, a different exposure, a different experience, and see how we can get as much as we need to cover on what we want them to learn, when because we're convinced that international education is important, and we're all working in international offices. So what is our job? working with their partners, working on student exchange, working on Prof exchange, working on international projects, dual degrees and all that. We're not going to abandon all that, okay? I don't want to be jobless next year. I still want to be working in this domain because I believe that what we do is important for our institutions. So I think what I'm saying is that we need to strive to dig into what opportunities there are now in moving online and what else we can gain for our students in this experience. And like Marisol said, it needs to be meaningful. You know, it has to make sense for the institution, for the student, because otherwise they're not gonna believe it, and it's gonna be like, oh yeah, I did a class online with Duke. Oh, it was great. You know, I didn't get anything and I didn't catch up with the students, and you know, so it needs to also make sense in the context.
Yeah, you know, Claudia, I'm you smiling here because you reminded me of an experience that I will tell you very, very briefly. I was at the house of a very dear, good friend in Canada once, and we're sitting in the backyard. You know, it was springtime, and we had this amazing French wine, and I thought it was the best wine I've ever tasted in my entire life. So I took a picture of the label. And I came back to Brazil, and I started looking for the wine here in Curitiba. Curitiba is a fairly big city. You can find good wine here. So after searching a lot, I found that wine. It was very expensive. I bought a bottle of wine, brought it back home, got prepared, you know, to have that whole experience again, and opened the wine. I tasted, and it was so disappointed because it was nothing compared to the original experience in Canada. You know, so I fully understand what you're saying from a personal perspective.
No, yes, I totally agree with Claudia. What she says, it's not about replacing; it's about enhancing and adding, you know, new competences. Because here the word employability is a key word, you know. Because now, I mean, today and in the near future, all of our students will have their work meetings with colleagues abroad. And they will need to do projects with colleagues from different countries, with different time zones, with different backgrounds. You know, so it's not only all the experience that you gain, the cultural experience that you gain abroad, but you also need to learn these new skills of having meetings with people all over the world online. And that's going to be like that for the next years. You know, so it's about not replacing. I like the word. It's not about replacing. It's about enhancing and adding new skills to your professional life, you know? Yeah, so it's a positive thing.
Yeah, and also because, I mean, one thing that we haven't touched on yet, but it's also a question of sustainability, you know? I think there is also a push for merge mobility, for online learning experiences when it comes to internationalization or international exposure, because you still, you know, what about your carbon footprint? You know, what about us traveling to all these conferences and having, you know, sending out 500 students, as, you know, some institutions do, on short-term or long-term study experiences? How do you justify that? And for me, you can only do that when you say, okay, we have different options. You know, having to go abroad on a study experience is an option that is in a whole sort of panel of other things that they can do to have and gain an international experience. And that's what sort of I'd like to take also my institution.
Perfect. Yeah. Yes, Marisol, I just want to hear you, but you know, it's so bad that time is flying because we have so many questions coming in. We have comments from Patricia Ocampo. She's saying, yes, Rosario, agreed. Working online helps a lot of students to understand the other cultures. Yes, I guess it's true. Nina from Brazil is wondering if the virtual mobility can be a gateway to future academic opportunities, such a master's or a PhD abroad. I think it's a great point. Lydia from my team at PUCPR International is curious to know if you already have any feedback from the students, if they're enjoying their experience. So Marisol, maybe we want to hear what you have to say, but if you can just connect with some of these questions and make your some further comments.
Absolutely, Marcelo, thank you. I think that virtual mobility is a wonderful way of internationalization at home with the benefit of reaching a larger number of students compared to traditional exchanges. I agree with my colleagues in everything they said. We just need to make sure that factors involved in successful and effective online teaching, such as course design, activities, content, even the teacher's presence and interaction between the students and the teacher, the students' autonomy, and even time management, developing students the skills that the global challenges require. I think that's the main issue. And of course, virtual mobility arrived to stay, but we need also to promote the experience of studying abroad. But most of our students will be able to make a virtual mobility in the opposite of going abroad. So that's where we have to take care. So they all have, or most of our students at the university have this opportunity to develop these international competencies required.
You know, Yeni Maricruz Diaz is saying that we live in a world of adaptation. We all are working on it, of course. Beranger is saying greetings from Dijon. Burgundy, yes, Beranger, I'm glad that you're joining us here today. We're running out of time. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we could go on forever, and I think it's a shame, but I do have one question that I would love to hear from all of you before we finish, and that is a concern of mine. We at PUCI, we did this migration to online platforms, PUCPR. We're doing fairly well, and the students seem to be appreciating the effort, and the professors and everything that Claudia said about their professors, their faculty there, I can say the same about our professors at PUCPR. But I'm really concerned. I'm really interested in learning what is going to stay after the pandemic, after the pandemic goes away, and it will go away. How much of these initiatives that we have now online will stay? So we, as international educators, can offer to our international community. So is this going to be like a stable thing, or is just a movement that we're doing to try to adapt to a moment of crisis? And then I don't like the expression new normal. I don't think there will be a new normal. It will be just back to normal, I think, right? So as we move back to normal, do you think that some of this will stay? At which proportion? Are we safe to invest in online exchange programs now? Maybe we can start with Carla. Do you have the same feelings, Carla, there? You're also from a PUCI?
Yeah, and well, answering your question is straight to the point. I do believe that I don't believe in the new normal. I believe the normal that we are gonna live from now on is exactly this dual possibility that we have, double possibility, not dual, in which we are gonna have different offerings. Talking about higher education classes, I do believe, and that's my belief, we are gonna move on to a hybrid situation in which our students, because we have talked about student-centered methodology, in which the student is the one who is going to be the center, of course. But the point is that he's responsible for his own learning, process. And when I talk about this, I can say that if we allow him to choose the path he wants to, and that best suits him, that would be perfect. So we could have the offer. That's not a dream, because some countries we do have this possibility, and in which the student is going to enroll in the program, and he's going to choose whether he wants to have online classes, if he's going to have presential classes or all the time at university, or hybrid situation. That's his decision. And I do believe this is something that is going to happen in our near future, because we had to move on really fast in order to adapt, ourselves to this new scenario. And my invitation when we talk about internationalization is something that we have to rethink. We have to re-signify internationalization of education. And this difficult period of pandemic is awful, and I know it, but it is crucial for us here in Latin America to understand that internationalization does not correspond to mobility only. It goes, much farther, far beyond. And so if it implies bringing international perspectives into all of our students' learning process, it involves providing all the students the means to develop intercultural competences. So it is our role to prepare students, as you've mentioned before, to live and work in this multicultural world that we are living in. And so we have to prepare students not only to work, and I do know that employability is the word now, and they are going to work with people all around the world all the time, having these international connections, but concerning the concept of global citizens as well. So I do believe that, as you mentioned, that's hybrid, the virtual mobility and virtual experiences, it came to stay, and it's going to be part of our not new normal, but of our normal life.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much. Rosario, any final thoughts?
Yes, I agree. And at our university, at Universidad de los Andes in Chile, we are also planning to invest resources, time in going online, not everything, but having more activities in the future online, because universities are also part of the community, and not only the students are going to be in this new hybrid model, but also workplaces, families, professors are also part of families, are also part of students are also going to be part of the workforce in some years. So everything is going to change in somehow. Schools, families. Santiago is a big city as well, so nobody is missing now traveling 1 hour to the university or 1 hour to the work. So the concept of the society is changing. Regarding transportation, regarding time for yourself. So I think, that's my personal opinion, I think that somehow the universities, of course, especially at we have a beautiful campus near the Andes Mountains. So it's a great place to be in touch with others. It's a great place for inspiration. You need a common place, to learn, to get inspiration, to teach, to learn from peers. But of course, in some part, we will have this online option for maybe for languages or for specific courses that can be delivered online. And therefore, that option will be also offered to international students. So we think at some point to deliver an option or an offer for international students. And that way we can, be in touch with more peers abroad and also give more options to our students, more international options to our students as well. So we want to have this hybrid model, of course, to have this campus, to have this presential life, but to continue with somehow an online way as well.
Absolutely. I guess the balance is the key, right?
Exactly.
We can have it all. So we're having great comments here. Patricia Ocampo, she's funny. She said, "Congratulations for a great panel and for having all these wonderful women. 4-1, she says." Yes, absolutely. I fully agree. Maria Oliveira is saying, "What a great conversation. Thank you, girls." I just want to, before we move on to the final thoughts by Marisol and Claudia, whoever is interested in getting a certificate of participation on this session, you guys that are watching us on YouTube, you have a link available there. You just go there, you fill up a form. It takes 10 seconds, and we will provide a certificate for your attendance, okay? The link is available now. Now, Marisol, Final thoughts.
Thank you, Marcelo. Yes, I think that online international courses will stay to promote virtual mobility, but also, as I mentioned, to support international exchanges so students don't get behind in their programs when they go abroad. And I also think that we will be having a combination of online classes, face-to-face classes, and hybrid classes, depending on the nature of the programs, and moving to a more personalized education model where students and professors will be taking advantage of digital and media resources to enrich the teaching and learning process more than ever before. So I think that we've been getting advanced to the future, and it would be a great opportunity for students and professors to use the technology available in self-education. But I think that we will have a combination of all.
So much. Thank you. Claudia, final thoughts.
Wow, this went by really quickly. Like you said, I think we still, we would have hours to go on.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm sorry, Marcelo, but I have to disagree with what you said with the new normal. I'm afraid that we are moving to a new normal. I'm not even sure if I'm afraid. I think that's just the reality. That's just what we're going through right now. It has been such a disruptive year, and we know it's not finished, and we don't know how we're going to get out at the other end. So, rock and roll, keep up the good work. I know that whoever works in international relations, we are people of faith in intercultural competencies and in understanding each other, having an open mind, and working together, building bridges. And I think that we are also capable of building virtual bridges. For me, it's not like I said, it's not replacing the actual going somewhere, packing your things, moving to the other end of the world, and then spending a semester in Santiago de Chile, making friends and drinking great Chilean wine and all that. It's adding to that, it's enhancing that, and reaching out to the students who didn't have that opportunity. Marisol and Carla both said that before. I think it's a more inclusive approach to giving an international experience, an international opportunity to our students, and also to opening up our institutions to internationalization in a different way. So exposing our students, our faculty, our staff to other experiences that will challenge them, like I said earlier on, in a different way, intellectually speaking, but it will still be a great learning experience, and it will be enriching in a different way, but it still will be enriching. So I'm not sure in what sort of time span we're going to move to having a virtual mobility program, for example, in my institution, because I know from where we come, like I explained at the outset, it's not in our DNA to be 100% online. I don't think that we're ever going to be. But as we've already started like 5 years ago, enhancing our tools, our teaching tools with online tools and online opportunities, and digitalizing the sort of the work environment of our students. For example, we also have a project of having a 100% digital learning center where we have all our library, which is now a great on-campus experience, to be also a great online experience, to think of also not just the teaching, but also how we can be present. For example, I'm in an administrative service, so I'm not teaching. I'm not in touch with my students, teaching them something. I'm only in touch with my students in a way where I'm providing service to them, coaching them through their international project, okay? And I want that to be thought of as well when we think of how we can go online, because I think there are other places. There are the ones who are in the registrar's office, the ones who are in our learning center, the ones who are working in different offices where it's about coaching our students through their student project and being by their side. So how we can package all that in an online experience. I think that there are institutions out there that already do a wonderful job, and I think that the students are happy. From our point of view, because we are so closely knit with our students, we still need to work on how we can be sure that what we can provide them now on campus, we'll be able to provide that online. So these are my closing words. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you so much. We still have, comments coming. Berenger is saying, congratulations on this discussion. Very interesting points of view and perspectives. Thank you, Marcelo, for inviting me. Yeah, of course, you wouldn't be left out. João Heitor Pereira is saying, what an incredible conversation. Congrats, girls. Just imagining how amazing must be the Andes campus that Rosario was talking about. Listen, it's been amazing, really. It's too bad that time flies when we're having fun, right? I just want to remind you guys that the theme of the symposium this year is partnership, more precious than ever. We decided to do that symposium this year to celebrate our partnerships, and I think this is very much what we're doing here today. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure to have you all joining us. Just remember and tell your people that this session will be available on YouTube. Whoever didn't have a chance to follow up live, people can access YouTube PUCPR channel on YouTube, and it's going to be there. We should do this again soon. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much again for joining us. It's been a real.
Next time in Brazil. Next time we do it in Brazil. Presential, not online.
Absolutely. Folks, thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take good care.